You guys, it finally happened. We did Star Wars, and this is how we did it. We are super excited to have Chris Hardwick in this as Luke Skywalker. We're big fans of Chris, and he's a big fan of Star Wars, so it worked out perfectly. Chris came here to the house where we pretty much shoot everything, and we set up the cockpit right in the middle of my dining room. It's all very homemade, but he was super into it and totally a good sport.
I mean, I'd seen a lot of the homemade movies before, but just sort of being on the inside, I really felt like I was one with the cardboard.
We built this little cockpit setup with a bunch of cardboard and kind of attached it to one of my dining room chairs. Stuck the cardboard out the side, made a little roof, painted it.
Ah, it smells like spray.
Put some tubing up in it, kind of just figured out the windows and the angle. It looks silly in the house, but when you sit down in it and put the costume on and you look through just that one little area where the camera sees, it looks really, really cool.
Now I want this to be an actual ride.
Oh, we can make that happen.
Hey! Oh, I'm gonna throw it!
The Luke Skywalker outfit is only seen from here up.
Alright, so this is a bit ridiculous.
I don't think it's ridiculous at all. I don't know why you're saying it's ridiculous.
I had to get the orange jumpsuit, which I made from a really large jacket I got at a thrift store. Made with the little buckle, made the little like white overalls, and that was pretty much it. Then the helmet, which was just made out of a football helmet.
You start to smell your own head in the helmet, which I never would have thought was a thing.
It was really a quick throw together job, and I was surprised how cool it looked on camera, especially because it's so iconic.
This is perfect. Now I'm ready to go hunting on Tatooine. These are great, see? It's weird, right?
When you get the outfit and you got the helmet on with the orange goggles, immediately you know it's Luke Skywalker.
I feel like one of those like 1930s kids with a toothache.
So outside of our cockpit window, we wanted to see the trench moving at a very fast speed. We came up with this solution to put 2 trash barrels in the background. You draw along the side, make it look like the trench, and have them spin together like this. You don't see behind the head where they meet, so it just looks like a continuous trench going by in the background. And to spin them, we just attach some casters to the bottom. Made a little stand with a pipe that it kind of stays in place. Since that whole cockpit is just locked down to the chair and doesn't move at all, in order to get the look of the movement, I just swing the camera around like crazy, and it just ends up looking like the ship is moving. Some of the shots in the scene we noticed didn't have the trench, so we didn't do the barrels, it's just black space, I guess. Put up a black sheet, but in those shots you do see R2's head out in the window there, so we used a silver bowl, made it look like R2, just set it right outside the window.
Our official R2-D2 popcorn bowl. Tasty.
There's a little device that Luke looks through at one point, so we used a Polaroid camera because it just kind of looked exactly like what they used in the movie, and put a couple little details on there, stuck it on a pole, and just pushed it through from the back.
This is like the rich kid's Instagram. Yo, what's up, Brittany?
And that's just one of those cases of an everyday object that I already had that we just grabbed and turned into something very specific and cool from the movie.
That's exactly how they did it on Star Wars, guys. It's actually, it may not be that far off, to be honest.
And then we got Jonah Ray from the Nerdist to play the guy with the mustache. That's Biggs.
I rarely like doing any performing without a fake mustache. I got dragged in this because I've been friends with Dustin for about 5 years, and I think everything he does is really awesome. So I was glad he finally asked me to be in something again.
So it was great to have him come on board, and wore the same outfit pretty much, and different helmet.
It wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be to try and mimic that actor. Everything was kind of stilted and weird, and just trying to remember to like put the arm down right when you're saying a line that sounds fake. That was probably the hardest part. How many frames is that going to be?
4.
4 frames. That's where I work my best.
And then I got to play Wedge. Same deal, same outfit, different helmet, same cockpit. Whee!
So I just converted the cockpit that we have for the X-Wing into the TIE Fighter and Darth Vader's ship. So I just kind of pulled out the pipes that we had, drew some different shapes on the walls, and that's pretty much it.
So black sheet in the background, just kind of changed the windows a little bit and put a red light in there because they're bad guys. Red means bad. Now I made that Darth Vader outfit pretty quick. It's not a full helmet. Whoever's wearing it has to just kind of tape it on. So I had my buddy Andre, who I go way, way back with, come over and play Darth Vader, and it's just a bowl that I kind of cut with some cardboard. You stick that on the head, and then wear some sunglasses, and then the face part just literally tapes onto his face. And then Andre also plays the TIE Fighter pilot, where I just used our regular motorcycle helmet with a face cover and put some junk on there. and it looks really cool. C-3PO appears in a handful of shots, so I made that outfit really quick. It's just a bowl and another container, glued them together, spray painted it yellow, drew the face on, and then it's just a yellow shirt underneath, and one of those tinfoil pans, painted it yellow, strapped it on, done. Princess Leia appears in the war room with C-3PO, and so my wife played that role, and our friend Monica did the buns, actually. Instead of buying something silly, like we probably would normally do, we actually went for it and used her real hair. So Priscilla wore those all day until we got around to shooting it, so it ended up looking pretty funny and pretty good. Our buddy Piotr has played Harrison Ford for us in the past. In Ender's Game, he was much older Harrison Ford, so this time he gets to play the younger version.
There's definitely a difference in his voice. Come on, kid! Versus, come on, kid! I kind of like the older one better.
And Chewie appears in just one shot. So we decided to just put one of our long brown wigs on backwards. And then once it was on, I thought, okay, let me tie a piece around the neck. Let me make a little mouth. Let me just kind of glue some eyeballs on it. Put a belt across the chest. And that was it. So for one shot, there's your homemade Chewie.
There's two guys that we noticed appear in a shot together, and then just 2 shots later, it's 2 totally different guys. Same background, 2 different guys though. The bearded guy turns to the other guy, as if to say, do you think they noticed that we're different actors?
A lot of the shots are looking down the long trench on the Death Star, so we built it out of cardboard. We had a handful of toys, and we bought some at different sizes, and then I made 2 little TIE fighters. And then I made a really, really tiny version of Darth Vader's ship out of a little ball bearing and some little pieces of metal. So the small stuff fits inside this trench that we built. We had to decorate the whole thing too, so we sprayed it gray and then we drew all the lines and all the little details that kind of look very Death Star-y, and just made that thing really long. And it kind of goes to a point, so it sort of just goes like infinite. And then what we ended up doing, instead of trying to move the camera and the ships for all those different shots, we just kind of locked the camera down and had it floating in one spot and had the ships in front, and then we just pulled the trench. A lot of the trench shots had these green lasers that go flying all different directions, and those were a pain in the butt. We ended up using little tiny pieces of cardboard that we spray painted bright green and put them on sticks, and we could kind of just like fly them by the camera. And they're a little clunky, but like, hey, there's lasers. It's the Death Star trench, what more do you want? Inside the trench, you also get a couple shots that are the point of view through some of the ship's windows. And then one of the point of view shots has R2-D2 on top of the X-Wing. So we made a little tiny R2 out of the top of a like rubber ball, painted it, got the details, and so it looked really cool when you're looking down the trench and you can see over the top of it. And then he has a little explosion accident, so we put some sparklers and some smoke in there. The first time they dive into the trench, we made an even smaller version because we need to see the whole surface. So that's just a really tiny trench, and we just drew the tiny details on there. So the camera comes way down and then it does a cut into the actual trench. Some of the shots just take place right out in space, so we did that against a black sheet. And all of these miniature shots pretty much are just various wires that are attached to the spaceships, and you either attach it from the bottom or the top or wherever, and you just get the movements by kind of dangling them. For some of the shots that are inside the trench, instead of shooting long ways inside our cardboard one, we were shooting sideways, and so we got out this spinning barrel again because it already moves really fast in one position. So that way you can just focus on the camera, and whichever ship just needs to kind of float by slowly, because in the background you've got the barrel spinning really fast. So that looks really cool. And then we built an even larger scale version of the top of the X-Wing where we have R2-D2 on there, and kind of built out the rest of that where he's kind of poking at the little panel there. And we've got the spinning barrel in the background. He's kind of just moving. And then we have a big explosion in that side shot too. So we just used the sparkler and the smoke machine and just blasted them in front of the barrel. And then one of the X-Wings also on that side view gets a little explosion. And for those of you who have noticed, we're actually using the iPhone a lot in some of these shots because it has such a tiny, tiny lens. And so when we're using these little miniatures, using that little lens just makes everything look huge on screen because you can just get right up next to it. So that's the reason we use the iPhone all the time, is because it has a very close-up macro range. There's some various insert shots and graphics and things, and one in particular that was a challenge was the one when Luke is looking through the scope. We actually see the kind of graphic of the trench moving along really fast. So I shot that separately and actually made another little trench and just put some yellow yarn in it, so that way when you film down that trench it looks more like graphics. And then I played that back on my iPhone, pretending that's a little computer screen there that he's looking at, and decorated some other elements around it. And there's some other shots of some graphics and things that I just drew out on some cardboard and other inserts of like buttons being pressed and whatever, but it's all just miscellaneous stuff around the house. So the big moment, the Death Star explodes. We started by painting a little Death Star on some cardboard, put that up against the sheet, jump cut to a separate little explosion element, and then we dissolved to the camera on the ground, shooting straight up at the ceiling. It just dropped some confetti and shot it in slow motion, and it just rains down. The music score for this scene is huge, and it's classic John Williams. Everyone knows this score, so I go in there, track by track, just singing out every little bit that I can, making up the instruments, trying to get them to sound the same, and just go through the whole thing, just making this big John Williams score, all using my voice. And then tons of sound effects too. I could try and recreate these sound effects using other homemade means, but part of the fun for me is just doing it all with my voice, so that's what I did. So that's how we did it. If you have any other questions, hit me up in the comments below. And thanks again to Chris Hardwick and the Nerdist. It was great working with you guys. Be sure and check out their event, Course with the Force, at the link below. And subscribe to CineFix because we have new episodes every single Tuesday. And let us know in the comments what other trailers and scenes you want to see us try. So we'll see you next week. May the Force be with you. Thanks so much.
Can we shake? You want to go for a high five? What if I just left you hanging the whole time?
I'm looking forward to the new Star Wars where this. Shut up, Chewie!
Get more details at Mother Fudge.
Is that a website or?
Yeah, Mother Fudge.
C-3PO, human cyborg relations.
I don't know how she acts.
When Luke went into the trench run, he knew he might have to sign some dark book covers.
Somebody pilot this thing, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Hands are way too big. My hand starts back here. Oh.
You know that Alec Guinness was just like, what the f*** are we doing? Everything you need to make a great movie you could just get at a hardware store, is what I really learned today. I don't know why these people are spending $150, $200 million on a movie. You could save Hollywood. I don't want to take this off now!